Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. My name is Muhammad Hafizhuddin. I'm from Computer Engineering Group C. In this video, uh, uh, we will discuss about Bootstrap or Tailwind CSS. Um, Before we jump into Bootstrap and Tailwind CSS, we should know what is CSS framework. So, according to Wikipedia, CSS framework is a library allowing for easier, more standard compliant web design using the cascading style sheet language, or usually we call a CSS language. This greatly decreases the time need to start creating application and website, and developers do not have to start from scratch every time when building application or website. Uh, there is a best CSS framework. There are some of best CSS framework, including Bootstrap, Tailwind CSS, Materialize, Bulma, and Foundation. But in our topic this time, we will discuss about Bootstrap and Tailwind CSS. Why Bootstrap and Tailwind CSS? Right now, Bootstrap is the most popular CSS framework, but Tailwind CSS has recently benefited from an upward trend of popularity, and there is an increasing amount of front-end developer who choose to stick with the new CSS framework as a new alternative. In this video, I want to explore the difference between Tailwind and Bootstrap and give you as much insight as possible on this topic. First, Bootstrap introduction. The release of Bootstrap happened on 19 August 2011, nearly 10 years ago. Bootstrap was developed and maintained by Mark Otto and Jacob Thornton. Shortly, it became one of the most popular CSS framework out there, and currently is the sixth most shared project on GitHub. And then Tailwind CSS introduction. According to the project GitHub contributor list, the project was originally developed by Adam Watan, and the first release date back to the 1 November 2017. It described as utility first CSS framework, and they claim that development is faster with this new method. Uh, we comparison between Bootstrap and Tailwind CSS. Having introduced some basic fact about the two frameworks, I would like to lay out the comparison benchmark that we will delve into in this video. We will talk about the development process, performance, and the community of the two framework, Bootstrap and Tailwind CSS. Okay, developing Bootstrap. Bootstrap is based on the object-oriented CSS methodology, which has become one of the most popular ways of managing style sheet and class. Before object-oriented CSS, we used to create separate class and style for any component that look different. For example, if you had 10 buttons in your application, you would have 10 different class for those buttons. With object-oriented CSS, you would instead have a lot more class for the sizing and style of the button. This would ensure a more modular, and you would not have to create a new class for a button, which you would need to be smaller only. Then developing Tailwind CSS. Tailwind CSS is a utility first CSS framework. What this means is that instead of writing a lot of CSS, you will be writing a lot of class for the HTML element. In Tailwind CSS, you have class for almost all kinds of margins paddings, background, font size, font families, text color, shadow, and so on. Talk, and then performance between these two frameworks. Bootstrap has 4 files that are required to include into your project to get the full benefit of the Bootstrap. Together, they amount up to 325 kilobytes, including jQuery, proper.js, Bootstrap.js, and the main Bootstrap CSS file. In comparison, Tailwind CSS only require the base style sheet file, which amount up to 27 kilobytes. It is true that Bootstrap has much larger set of components and functionality. Talk about community. Bootstrap has been around for more than 9 years and being the most popular CSS framework. It has a large community of developers, forums, tools, and so on. You can find countless of Stack Overflow website answering to just about any question you might have about certain situation. In this case of Tailwind CSS, there is still much room to grow in terms of this community. However, it is growing day by day and the number of tools and websites related to it also increasing. So the conclusion is, I believe that deciding whether to choose Tailwind CSS or Bootstrap should be more based on your personal preference regarding writing styles and class. There is no clear performance or equality advantage that any of the framework might have, except the fact that Bootstrap does still come with a much larger set of components. At the end of the day, I recommend you try out Tailwind CSS and see if the utility first way of building user interface for the web is preferred way for you to work. Um, Thank you for watching. See you next time.